And we're back for an all-new episode of Keep It. I'm Ira Madison III.
I am Louis Vertel, and can you feel the prestige? It's coming in. The movies are trickling down that I actually want to see. You can see the life in my eyes flickering back to life after summer goes away, which, as you know, is my favorite. And then I realized that we have another favorite thing, which is art, which will be back with us.
Joker 2.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Harlequin. Yes.
Yeah,
We are
a lot of Oscar buzz for this film.
Well, let me just fucking say, there kind of was Oscar buzz for a while for this
There
movie.
was!
People were like, Lady Gaga's going to win the Best Supporting Actress Oscar, and now those people to me look like they ate the bad berries. We will get into that, but
Variety is still pushing that conspiracy theory, by the way.
Oh,
There's an
I hope
article
so.
this week about how Joaquin and Lady Gaga could still end up contenders.
now we are literally going to be discussing this in depth during today's edit. But before we get into the actual movie and the Harlequin album by Lady Gaga, this clip of them talking when it's premiering at, what is it, Cannes or something, and people are using lip readers to put words in Joaquin's mouth as he talks to Lady Gaga and she responds. Do you think he is literally saying in that moment, as people are speculating, this is horrible?
Well, there is the clip of them being asked by an interviewer, did the film turn out how you expected it to? And she says, Joaquin? And they look at each other and burst into laughter.
Right. So, I mean, the context clues are there. Yeah, a very strange situation. But also that makes you think, what did they think it was going to be?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll get into that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's too intriguing. It really is a weird news cycle for this movie.
But first, I want to ask you, Louis, do you own a Glock?
Go on.
Like Kamala Harris,
Oh, right.
who is running around everywhere talking about how she owns a gun this week. And we already know she mentioned that in the debate. She mentioned it in some other thing. And
her talk with Oprah, whatever that was. That live thing.
Oh, yeah, the chat with Oprah. But now she's running around talking about having a Glock everywhere. And isn't it kind of giving, I got hot sauce in my bag?
But you know what? It feels like you've got to have one of those things. The like, oh, yeah, I relate to people you didn't think I related to. Whatever. Like, isn't that the whole point of being a politician? I'm not saying I love that she's doing
Johnny
this.
Guitar?
Yeah. A movie people really should bring up more. I mean, Joan Crawford in that movie, and also the fabulous Mercedes McCambridge, the woman who would later end up voicing Pazuzu in The Exorcist, but it was a fabulous kind of butch supporting actress once upon a time. Johnny Guitar, look it up. But yes, that's her.
Maybe she's actually Betty Davis in The Letter with her gun.
Oh, just walking out into the porch, shot. You haven't seen The Letter. That's a short movie and a fun movie where Betty Davis is like, I have no idea why my husband's dead. And then 30 minutes in, she's like, so I did it, and also here's why. Just like it turns.
Honestly, that is the first film I was shown in film school.
Oh, really? Well,
Our professor showed us The Letter, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm on board for film.
no, right, exactly. Like, tape me to the Criterion closet, please. Like, strap me up to the. She's really fun in that movie, and just an ass. You know, like it's one of those like Agatha Christie type roles where, are we on her side? And then at the end, she turns into something else. Anyway, what's going on this episode? What would you say is going on?
Well, we're talking about the Joker 2, obviously. Folie à Deux, which is one of my favorite Fall Out Boy album titles.
Oh, please, yeah, I can't stop spinning it, and I have the vinyl, of course.
Yeah, it's French for madness of two, actually. And watching this movie and talking about it this episode, I think the madness will be the both of us.
I'm driven something by this movie. Yeah, might be mad.
And we will also be giving you an award season preview, anticipating the films that still have Oscar buzz.
Right. For now, Jesus Christ, watch the sickle before the wheat. Watch it just go away.
Honestly, this is kind of one of my favorite things of Oscar season, when there's a film that everyone's like, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot. I got the horse right here. His name is Paul Revere. And then the horse collapses.
Right. It turns
Right out the gate.
trips, falls, yeah. Well, again, it's like because you have so many reasons. Like the world wants you to believe in these movies. You know, we watch like people applaud these movies at film festivals, or like very, very advanced reviews will say one thing, and you're like, there can't be film reviewers out there who are this hyperbolic over something that's mediocre. But it turns out it's most of them. So it's very shocking.
And it's actually very shocking, given that gay men would laud Lady Gaga for a performance and demand that she get an Oscar if she really were giving a good performance in a really abysmal film.
Yeah. Right. No.
The fact that that's not even happening
Yeah. No.
should tell you everything about this film.
No. When gay men leave a theater crestfallen, I mean, like, because, you know, we're like, shall we say, creative types, and we will invent ways to like just about anything. So, what Joan Didion used to call magical thinking. Yeah, none of that is being applied here. But yes, we'll also talk about the accompanying album that Lady Gaga released, Harlequin, which is not the same thing as her pop album that's coming out. And let me just say about that, thank God. Next up,
Joker, Folie à Deux, the sequel to Todd Phillips' contentious Oscar winner from 2019, hit theaters last weekend. And some people thought it'd be a musical. Some thought it'd be more incel porn. But joke's on them, because the only thing it was a flop.
I will say about this, before we get into the actual entertainment value of this movie, I have to almost respect where this movie is coming from, which is to say it feels nothing like the last movie other than the cinematography looks the same. And you're obviously getting Joaquin Phoenix, you know, looking like the most uncomfortable roadie for like a late 70s band. Like still he's in the same mode. But otherwise, you don't get anything that other movie is about. There's barely any violence in this movie, even especially the Joker doesn't commit any violence. In fact, there's not even any story in this movie. It's just him just awaiting trial and meeting Lady Gaga, this other inmate, who has the kind of Ali Sheedy in the Breakfast Club energy. Like, why is she here? Why did she show up? Who knows? But there's so little story, and the movie keeps referring to the past movie, keeps saying to you, remember that other movie where that thing happened? As nothing happens in this movie. And then there are these kind of dreamlike musical sequences that obviously are strange because Lady Gaga, as she has said in interviews, is not using her full voice, really. She's playing a non-singer who can break out into song, and Joaquin Phoenix, also not a singer. So you're getting these sort of fractured, drab, semi-musical performances, and the movie treats those like the main event, even though they're kind of unassuming. So the entire movie, from start to finish, until there's one final act of like violence at the end, is an unassuming movie, whereas the first Joker movie was so in your face, you at least had to have an opinion about it. This passes by so, like, uneventfully. I'm shocked that this was the point of view of the director, Todd Phillips. I have to respect that literally he must have known everybody who liked the first one was going to hate this one.
I am shocked that I didn't really like the first film.
Oh, which, by the way, I hate the first one. I just want to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't think it was as abysmal as everyone else thought it was, but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know, but I gave it 2 stars on Letterboxd. 2 out of 5.
Okay.
This one, I think, is worse.
Yeah.
Than the first one, actually. I think it's worse because I think it's so... I'm more enraged by the sort of modus operandi behind it, you know, sort of why he created this film. First of all, I want to tell you that my screening of this film, I was the only one in it.
So it was lonely. You were
Yes.
a Joker
Okay.
at the Joker screening. Yeah.
I sang One Is the Loneliest Number in the middle of the
I hate when I have to burst into Nilsson.
Yeah. And I think plenty of people were also sharing screenshots of sort of reserving on AMC A-List or Fandango of sort of empty theaters.
Right.
Because people expected this to be a blockbuster. So there were plenty of screenings of this film. Maybe too many.
Certainly.
You know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. My thing about this film is that, as you said, they are two characters who are constantly breaking into song, and there are these musical set pieces. You know, it's a bit reminiscent of Chicago, if you will. There's the trial of the century. You know, there is the putting a murderer on trial, but you're also putting the audience on trial and also a city on trial for supporting murder, you know, and sensationalizing it.
Right.
What Chicago does, though, is when
Anything?
Roxy and Velma, and you know, it's actually a musical. When Roxy and Velma slip into a fantasy world, it actually becomes a musical. You know, I don't get the impetus to take us into a musical world and then just have it be exactly like the world we're already inhabiting, where the not singing thing to me feels like just sort of like the weakest, lamest cop-out to me at all. It's sort of, oh, they're not supposed to be good singers. Well, what if they fucking were?
Yeah, that would be cool.
Fucking musical. Because it's a fucking musical, okay? And it's annoying that you've pissed off like straight men who went to see the film and then left because they realized it was a musical, because, you know, we're hiding the fact that movies are musicals these days for people. So they left because it's a musical, and then you're pissing off other people who are excited that it's a musical because it's not giving musical. And I don't know, if you're going to rip off Scorsese in the first film and just like give us Kings of Comedy, like why couldn't you just rip off musicals and actually give us a musical? You know? Like commit to the bit.
You know what's interesting though? I thought about that, about the King of Comedy thing. If the first one was sort of like a incel take on King of Comedy, to me this movie is the incel take on Dancer in the Dark, which is it's a movie about this, they live in a drab universe, everything's going to hell, things couldn't be worse, and then the music sort of lifts them out a little bit, but there's still like the whimsy has a drabness to it. And let me just say, like that, but unlike Dancer in the Dark was quite a big swing. Like you come out of that being like, oh, I went through a lot, and actually I can't say I liked it one way or the other. And it ends with a crazy execution that still lingers in my mind. But anyway, in this movie, like the musical sequences don't illustrate anything interesting about the Joker. Like you don't get to know this character anymore. And Joaquin Phoenix, I don't think, does enough in the musical performances that the entire mechanism feels justified. Lady Gaga, I think, maybe gets a little bit more out of it, and painfully, you get one sequence where she sings with her full voice for like 2 lines in a row. And so from then on, you're like, oh, I'm getting this one pallid version of Lady Gaga in comparison to what we just got with those 2 lines too. So the musical part of it is just a weird thing to consider the centerpiece of the movie, because it doesn't bring anything out of either of the characters, nor does it illustrate anything about the situation they're in. And by the way, the songs they pick are so weird. Just like, why When the Saints Go Marching In? Why, like, these songs that are like older than time that feel like they had to pay $0 to use too. And let's just say, well, actually we'll get to the album in a second. What's weird is the versions you hear in the movie are not what are on the Lady Gaga soundtrack. They're sort of more developed musical versions for the for her Harlequin album. But here it's like, I don't know, it almost feels like a De Beers commercial or something, where there's like spooky music before you get to the placement of the jewels. I don't know.
The film is also a courtroom drama.
Oh, yes.
Mostly. Well, I want to say mostly because you don't actually get into the courtroom until the second hour of the film. But it's basically putting the entire first film on trial, and it feels like this movie could have been an essay.
Yeah,
you know, it's his thoughts on the first film as an artist, and so many people who are defending the film online, because people are crazy, they are saying that this is Todd Phillips, you know, responding to the commentary on the first film, and I'm like, just respond to it.
Right.
Don't waste my time with a film.
Right. As also, by
because
the way,
he didn't have anything interesting to say.
And also, by the way, don't waste my time with Joaquin Phoenix in the courtroom doing the like Christoph Waltz in Big Eyes fucking thing, where we're like, I'm my own lawyer and I'm a crazy person and I'm running around. Just like, so this is completely another layer of unreality we're grafting onto the film.
My second cousin, Vinny, twice removed.
We don't speak to him.
the worst courtroom drama film I have seen since Intolerable Cruelty. Okay,
Wow, you've invoked Catherine Zeta twice now today. Okay, yeah.
Because you know what, I was watching this film and I was like, when I go see a musical, I want to listen to singers.
Yeah.
Okay. And Joaquin was singing off key on the record, and I don't want to listen to that. It was painful to listen to the film too. It just wasn't a pleasant viewing experience. It wasn't a pleasant listening experience. It didn't even look good.
No. Also, it's like you don't even get the Pierce Brosnan in Mamma Mia thing of, okay, this is totally awkward that he's singing, but there's a joie de vivre about just saying fuck it. Obviously, if you associate joie de vivre with this movie, you have a clinical illness. So go ahead and take that elsewhere.
I thought we were going to get something slightly interesting because I didn't mind the opening cartoon.
Oh, there was something there.
I thought it was cute.
And also, they sang "What the World Needs Now Is Love," that was my problem with the opening cartoon. There's this opening cartoon about the Joker going to a premiere or something, and eventually he sings "What the World Needs Now Is Love." If you're gonna put me in the musical headspace of Burt Bacharach, okay, too bad. I'm thinking about Burt Bacharach now. Sorry, I'm thinking about his wonderful songs, and I'm wondering if anybody's gonna restage Promises anytime soon.
Great musical.
All those songs are amazing. I'll Never Fall in Love Again. I love those songs.
And so I feel like Lady Gaga was left wanting from this film because there's absolutely nothing in it.
There's no Oscar earning moment for her in this movie. Like, definitely the awards chatter will be over after people are fully aware of this movie. Yes.
There's a lot of talk about Todd Phillips cutting a scene where she kisses a woman outside the courtroom, and it's in Out magazine or whatever about how maybe it's homophobic that the scene was cut, or Warner Brothers wanted to cut it. And I'm wondering, did he cut every other scene that she was in? She's barely in this movie. Yeah,
no, and she's like at a whisper level most of the time too. Like, the character doesn't really come to the fore in any of the scenes she's in either. Also, I still think the worst thing about the movie is the ending. Like, you cannot tell me that was not a reshoot idea or something where they just shall I spoil it? Can I spoil it here? Do you think people are going to be concerned? He's just walking around the prison at the end, and then some guy stabs him, and then he like falls over, and then the guy, and I don't know who this actor is or how he was directed, but he had to stand there and cackle like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon of a prisoner. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then Joker just dies there, as if to say, well, we know this movie isn't what you expected, and believe me, you're not getting another one.
He was the laughing dog from Wacky Races.
Yeah. Or the laughing dog from Duck Hunt, who was an icon.
And I think he stabs himself at the end of the movie, which is sort of suggesting that he becomes Heath Ledger's Joker, or at least inspires Heath Ledger's Joker. I don't want to think about this movie being anywhere connected to any of the other Warner Brothers films. Not that any of them are particularly good, but this also felt a lot like Man of Steel too, which also spent a lot of annoying time in a courtroom.
Yeah, the vibe
got blown up.
The look of that part, and they go for like gusto with the look of the courtroom, like you're in Trial of the Chicago 7 or something. By the way, I can't believe I just thought of that movie, which I fucking hated.
Which I loved.
Okay, moving on. I will say this movie is surprisingly about Catherine Keener, who plays the woman who she's like like Joker's lawyer or whatever, except she is constantly surprised by Joker's actions in the courtroom, etc., and like does nothing. Like, she tries to coach him and then it doesn't work out, and then she's like throws her briefcase down and says, well, fuck it. Like, it's weird that half the movie is about preparing him for court, even though we know something crazy is going to go down. It's just like a not interesting way to set up this movie.
Also, Brendan Gleeson, I'm sorry.
I actually fucking love him as an actor, but man, does he get nothing to do.
He's so good.
Yeah, he puts his all into the. He's a prison guard in this movie, and who kind of has like a sort of acquaintanceship with the Joker. Like, the Joker tells him a joke and he gives him a cigarette as their relationship. This is like 45 minutes of the movie. Like, there's way too much time devoted to this not important relationship.
Yeah, and then it also amounts to nothing, really.
Yeah. No,
it's almost about the abuses within the criminal court system, but then it has nothing to say about the abuses in the criminal court system because are we supposed to care about that? Are we supposed to care about the Joker? Are we supposed to care about society? The movie feels a lot like it has just nothing to say at the end of it. And so I have nothing more to say.
Yeah, no, you do come away with nothing in terms of like a takeaway or like the world it's in or why we spent all the time in the world or something, other than you might listen to the album Lady Gaga put out, which we'll get to in a second.
Harlequin. Now, if I were Lady Gaga and I were in this film and I saw my chances at another Oscar nomination slowly slipping away after such a, raucous reception at, Cannes, I, too, would run into the studio and whip up a Harlequin album. So
sure,
I could
not?
at least get, very Denzel in that interview. I'm leaving here with something.
Right. Yeah, and so she puts out this album that is like mostly all old standards, not all of them. And among them, she records Close to You by the Carpenters. Now, let me say something. We talk a lot about Karen on this podcast, but really, Richard is very key to the Carpenters' success. He's the arranger of all their songs. And for instance, Close to You by the Carpenters, probably still their signature song, is a hit because of what he did to it. The original Bacharach composition is sort of like a B-, and then Richard's arrangement made it the classic that it is. Wolf, we could have used him on this album because I hate the orchestrations on this album. I think it's like the dopey, like it feels like the mix they used for Close to You, it felt like a Jack Johnson song or something, like not suiting Lady Gaga's vocals, not suiting the melody of the song. Also, in general, like when the Saints go marching in, I mean, that it's got to be the whitest rendition of that song we've ever heard, is it not? Not that I'm sure there's a ton of competition, but.
The geek in the pink is giving it a run for its money.
Yeah.
Jason Mraz.
Geek in the pink. He seems like a nice guy.
Great karaoke song.
Yeah.
Our by King.
Right. Yes. No. And he seems super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I don't dislike the album. I actually enjoy it. I'm not spinning it as much as I should. Mostly because my boyfriend likes the album and won't stop listening to it.
Oh, okay. So you're dating a mentally ill person. Okay. All right. We love representation.
He's a musical theater actor.
Oh, so he's sick. Okay, great.
He is mentally ill. They're all mentally ill. And so I'm constantly hearing the album and telling him to put in headphones. But I will say, if my friends could see me now, it's my favorite.
I like it.
And I kind of want to. I saw one of my first. I think I've mentioned this on the show before. My second Broadway show, because my first one was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, the musical, in 2005. But it was during a weekend visit to New York and Chicago in college. The second show I saw was Christina Applegate in Sweet Charity.
Oh,
I would love to see Gaga as Charity.
Well, we're going to get a whole era of her doing old musicals. I mean, just there's no way she won't do a musical. Like somebody said that she'll be in some crazy version of Gypsy at some point too. Because half of Lady Gaga's career is proving to you she's heard of old songs. So that means she is going to be in a Broadway musical. I guarantee you that is a part of it. I enjoy World on a String on this album too.
A whole 54 Below residency.
Right. No, you think you're kidding. Her but like we did not need to hear her do Get Happy Again.
No, we didn't.
The Joker, that's fun. The Shirley Bassey throwback, obviously. Happy Mistake she did on Kimmel, and I saw that live. Stood in the audience, like a crazy. I never go next door to watch the celebrities come on the show because it's creepy behavior. But a couple of takeaways. One, she really is 5'2". Oh my God, that's a short person. And then secondly, the vocals just give and give, I have to say. Though I think a problem with Lady Gaga, and we've touched on this before, I think talking about that song she does with Bruno Mars. These songs,
which is not on the album,
no,
by the way.
Right.
There are all these soundtracks to the Joker, and that song appears on none of them.
I think a problem she has is, as a balladeer, she is just not brilliant with vulnerability. I don't get much in the way, like I don't feel like these songs are delivering any insight into her. And when I come to think of it, her ballads to me tend to be her worst written songs too. It's when she's likeliest to resort to cliche or likeliest to oversing in place of like earned emotion. It's just it makes her different than someone like Karen Carpenter, who can take a basic lyric and make you feel like you're listening to like you're at the nerve center of somebody's soul, you know.
You know, I would say that a lot of her ballads feel very take a look at me now against all odds.
Yes.
You know, she's very Phil Collins with it when she's doing a ballad. It's very, you know, very like the song Dope.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
sort of like it always veers into sort of 80s rock, almost sort of wanting to be like a Freddie Mercury sort of vibe, but it always sort of feels a bit maybe performative.
Yeah, and pastiche too. You know what I mean? Like not like as genuinely kind of authentically innovative the way like a lot of her pop music still is. And you know, like I like the Babylon on Chromatica. I'm not saying that's like the greatest song she ever did, but even so, it's like the strut of that has such humor to it, has such like there's an addictive, like irreverent quality to it. I really think she needs irreverence in order to sell the sentiment of a song. All of her best songs have irreverence laced in them.
Well, anyway.
Yeah, we tried, girl. I mean, I
I came across liking Harlequin a bit more than you, and I'm cursed to listen to it the rest of the week.
Yeah, enjoy your lot in life.